We added a Eureka server dependency on the cloud, and your application is going to be annotated just like at enable Eureka server, right? At enable Eureka server. So just adding that annotation, and one more important thing is port number, right? Changing the port number. So the default port is for Eureka is how much?
8761.
Exactly, 8761. So 8761 is the default port, and we need to do that. We need to stop the self registration, right? We need to stop the self registration. So what will happen? So right like this, right? So service 1, service 2, service 3. So the service 1 is our mobile service, right? MS, and service 2 is a country service, CS, and service 3 is our mobile accessory service, MA. So all these three are going to be registered. So this is our server, Eureka server. So dedicated instance, right? So we have a dedicated instance for Eureka server. Yes. Now what we need to do, we need to make these all services to be registered, right? So we need to make all these services to be registered in Eureka server. Not
Yes,
only
sir.
this, including our client. Yeah. Any
Yes.
question?
No, discovery, right? Discovery server.
That is what Eureka. Eureka is service discovery is a concept. Eureka
Okay.
server is implementation from Netflix.
Okay.
Netflix, Eureka, and then Hashcrop console. Both are same.
Console.
You can both
I
get
went
confused.
to that video also, which you said,
Hmm.
right? They explained very well.
Hmm. Okay, so Hashcrop console from Hashcrop. Anyway, that is it's not fully open source, so that's why we are going with Eureka. Okay, so this concept itself is called Eureka console. What are they? Service discoveries, right? Yes. So this is just with respect to Netflix. Eureka is respected to Netflix, and all these has to be registered, right? All this has to be registered as a client in Eureka server. Okay, so what should we do? We should go to each service level, and we should add that Eureka client dependency in each service level. We should add Eureka client dependency in each service level. Okay, yeah, so we need to add that Eureka client, right? Eureka client in each service level. So we did that. So actually we not supposed to do like this. We should add it in the parent, right? We should add it in the parent. So one place we should add it, but that's okay. It's supposed to be added in the parent, and we don't need to do anything. Automatically our services will be registered. So let's do that, right? So let's remove this from individual service level and add it in the parent level, right? So add it in the parent level. So let's go to parent. Okay, let's go to parent and add Eureka client. So to get this Eureka client added to a particular module, we need dependency management, Spring Cloud dependency management, and we also need to mention what version of Spring Cloud we are using, right? So we should also say that. So we don't need to go to each dependency and do those changes, not required. Let's come back and say what version of Spring Cloud we are using. Yes. So now we can remove all the pom.xml files, right? Child pom.xml files. No changes, right? Pom.xml files. You don't need to say what Spring Cloud version, because already all these are uh, extending from parent. Already all these are extending from parent. So we no need to go to individual level. Okay. So this is
Sunil,
not.
one question. Sorry.
Mm, mm.
No, we are giving this version, right? So how do we know like which cloud version as a correct cloud version need to be? Because there might be so many other versions also, right? Like one of the
This
version
one,
green,
Spring Cloud
green.
version.
Yes, yes. So there is one version I see Greenwich dot something like that. So it
No,
is
latest you should go. Oxton is the latest.
okay. Yeah, that is what I was saying. So we need to go to this, right? Our Spring specification.
Cloud, yes.
Okay.
Spring.io, Cloud project. Go to learn, so you will get that corresponding version. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't need to mention. We don't need to do each pod level, right? So we should change it. We should change it here. So now let's scroll down. Yeah. So we can remove all these things, right? So This is a common dependency, so it can be added in parent. So it's a common dependency, so it can be added in the parent. So let's remove that Eureka client. Let's remove that Eureka client, and let's go to mobile service also. Let's do the same change here also, because we already added in the parent. We no need to do those changes here. Okay, not required. Scroll down, you can where you see that client, remove, and just delete this. Yes. So just adding in the parent will help us, but client is not extending parent, right? So that is pure native application, Spring Reactive. So let it be an individual component, and there we need to add this, right? So there we need to add what version of Spring Cloud we are using, and we need to add the Eureka client, and we need Eureka client dependency, and we need to mention the dependency management. That is only for clients. That is only for clients. Apart from that, what we need to give extra? We need to give a name to our application, right? In the properties file, spring.application.name. If you don't give the name, what is the default name it's going to be registered? Unknown, right?
Unknown.
So unknown, yes. So you need to give a name to your Spring Boot application. So go to each application properties file and say application spring.application.name. So this name will be listed. Okay, this name will be listed on the this name will be listed on the Eureka server, right? So this is what is the name it's going to be used for communication purpose. So we should give this configuration, right? We should do this configuration in country service, mobile service, right? Country service, mobile accessory, and mobile client. So what are all the applications which are going to be registered on Eureka server, right? So these four services: mobile service, country service, accessory, mobile client. All these services are going to be registered. So we should give the name. Okay. Yes. So once that is done, okay. So let's start the service registry. Let's start the service registry. Anyway, let's remove this for now. Okay, let's create only one instance. Okay, so let's start the service discovery. First, we need to start the service discovery. Okay, now let's start country core services, right? All three core services. Let's start country, accessory, mobile service. It will take some time. Okay, so once it's done, we need to start our mobile client. But anyway, our end goal is removing, right? Removing the hard coded URLs. Our end goal is removing the hard coded URLs, right? So let's remove this all hard coded URLs. Let's remove this all hard coded URL. So what should we do? We should go to our application config. Okay, we should go to our application config, and we should stop using these URLs, right? We should stop using these URLs, and we should use discovery client, right? So this is from Eureka server. We should use discovery client to discover the service names, right? So we should use discovery clients to discover the service name. So what should we do? We should change the code, right? So we should change the code something like this. Okay, so you should call get discovery client, right? Discovery client, all these services are running. So let's quickly go to localhost 8761. Okay, so this is what is the URL of my service, Eureka server. You see there are three services, right? We gave unknown name. So it's that hash unknown. So that's why it's printing. I should do one thing. Let's go to that country service properties file and remove that hash unknown. This is considered in this part also. Let's remove this and save. So your country service will be restarted automatically because of DevTools. So after that, we can refresh. You see that hash unknown will be ignore, right? So these are all the name of the services which are registered in Eureka. So once the country service is restarted, this refresh, you see only country service, right? Yes. So this is how the services are going to be registered. But now let's come to the client. So in client, how do you get that service? So you should do discovery client dot get instance, discovery client dot get instance. Okay. And you have to give that mobile service, you will get that list of instances, right? It's going to return list of instances. You should call get of 0, right? You will get that service instance. So this service instance is specific to mobile service. So by using that service instance, you can know where is that service is running, what is the host, what is the host, and what is the port, and what is the URL, right? So what is the host where the service is running, what is the system name, and what is the port where on what port that particular service is running, and what port that particular service is running. URI is a combination of host and port, right? URI is a combination of host and port. That's why we are calling it URI. So it's going to return this part, right? So HTTP / colon local host. So right now the mobile service is running on what port? 8080, right? I believe 8080. I think we changed
Yes, yes.
8090. Okay, we changed it
8090.
to 8090. So no problem. We know, let it run on any port, no problem. We are going to get that path dynamically. So you are going to get localhost 8090, right? So localhost 8090. So it's going to be this, okay, URL / context path / MSK / mobiles, right? / mobiles. So this is what is our base path, right? / MSK / mobiles. So you need to add context path followed by URL, right? So
Servlet context.
controller URL you need to add, right? So let's do the same thing. So country service you are going to get it. So let's do URI plus / MSK / URI / MSK it's going to be country, right? Country. Yes. Scroll down. Let me check what is the accessible path for mobile accessory. What is the accessible path for mobile accessory? I just want to double confirm. It is localhost 8080, right? So localhost 8082 8082 / mobile accessory. So we should get all the mobile accessories. Okay, yes, it is 8080. So no context path here. So it's going to be URI. It's going to be URI plus hyphen mobile accessory, right? Mobile hyphen accessory. Yes. So this is what is the base path. So you no need to worry. Like I will change this port of mobile service, right? Mobile service. So client, there is no code change, right? For client, there is no code change. So client will still get, right? Client will still get that host name and port number, right? So let's print that URI, right? So this is going to be mobile service URI. So tomorrow when we change, like deploying on a different host, and deploying running on a different port, client side there are no changes, right? Client side there are no changes. So this is going to be mobile service URI. You will get that mobile service URI printed on the console. Let's copy this and paste it here, and you just change this to country service, and this is for our understanding purpose. Okay. Yes. So let's print this mobile accessory. This mobile accessory URI. All these details are going to be printed. So let's start the mobile client now. Let's start the mobile client, and you see while starting the service itself, you will get that service, right? It will connect it to that Eureka registry, and it takes that name, service name, and so you will get that service instance. By using that service instance, you are going to resolve the URI. So let's start this.
Sunil, one thing, how we are knowing like we need to get the first element only, the get of 0.
Anyway, that is not the thing. Okay, we will change it. We will change it
Okay,
in
okay.
few seconds. Okay. Ignore about that bind exception. That is just because of live reload. Okay, we can disable that live reload. We will do that. The client is up and running, but when I scroll up, you see that my host name, right? My system host name. So this is what is my system host name, and each service running on what port is going to be printed, right? So each service is running on what port is going to be printed. Okay, so there are some things will be printed in the background because Eureka server will check the heartbeat, right? to check, it will check the heartbeat of the each application to make it available. Okay, that is fine. So let's go to that mobile client, right? So mobile client is this is how it's going to be resolved. For example, I will start mobile client, I will stop mobile client, and I will change the mobile service. Okay, let's stop mobile service also. Let's stop mobile service also. So let's change that mobile service IP and okay, let's start mobile service again. So let's go to open config. Now dynamically change that IP, right? So hyphen hyphen. So server dot port. Let's start 1891. So client said no code changes. We are not touching any code now. We are dynamically changing the port, right? Apply, close. Let's start the mobile service. It's going to start on 1891, right? 8091. So client said you no need to do any code changes. Client will automatically come to know on what port it is running. Okay. Yeah, Anshuman, a few more minutes. Anyway, this is not is a correct way of doing the things. We will introduce gateway. Okay.
Oh,
We will go step by step.
okay.
We will put a load balancer in between, and then load balancer will do that load balance. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. Now we started. Okay, it started on 1890. Why? It started on 1890. Oh, missed hyphen hyphen. Really mistake. Apply, close, restart your service. Now it will be started on 1891. Okay, it started 1891. Let me start client. I am not doing any code changes, guys. I am not doing any code changes. I'm just playing with services directly. So you see, client is going to get that IP host name dynamically.
Sunil, if two instances of mobile clients are running, then
Yeah, we will go there. We will go there. That is next level. Yes.
okay.
I will show. I will start one more instance also. Okay, so you scroll up. Yeah, just go step by step. Okay, let's not make the things complicated. First let's complete one and go. Yeah, we will show. I will show. We will start one more instance 1892, and I will let you know what is the problem and what is the solution for that problem. Okay, yes. So now we are good. Let's go to. Okay, I need to start the postman because we need token, right? We need token to test our application. So we need to create a token. So let's test it. So this is how the Eureka is going to be used. Okay. So you no need to change. You no need to change anything at client side. Okay. It automatically dynamically fix it. But there is next challenge. Okay. There is next challenge will be coming into the picture. We will see that challenge and we will see what is the solution and how that solution is going to be implemented. Okay. Yes. I would have started this your before your session start. These things are taking too much time. Starting Postman, starting Eclipse. Okay. So now let's go to come on. 8085 create token, right? So we should create the token first. Let's create the token. Let's copy this token. Go to 8085 mobile client user in header section. Add this token. You'll get. So you'll see that output, right? Yes, you send it. Now, still the things will work as expected, right? Now, still the things will work as expected, right? Yes, yes. There is only one service which is giving response, right? I made one small change, guys. Yeah, I just want you to show. I added a port in the mobile response, right? So because I will start one more instance now, I will start one more instance. So I want to know from which port we are getting response, right? So to know port, to get the port of server, okay, to get the port of server, there is one default system property available on server, right? So server system system property. That property name is local.server.name. Okay, what is the property? Local.server.port. Sorry, local.server.port. So by using this, by reading this server system property, we can know what on what port the server is running. Okay, to read the system property, which class we need to use in Spring? Externalized configuration. In day 10 or day 11 session. Come on guys, how can I read system properties? By using
Property source.
no environment,
Oh, that okay.
right?
That
By
one
using
is
environment, we can read system properties, right? So let's do, we need to write. So anyway, Spring will create one environment object, right? You can directly auto wire it. So in your code, you can directly do auto wire, and where you would like to read any system property, then you can call environment.get property. And what is the property key we need to pass? Local.server.port, which is going to return an integer, and you can come to know on what port that server is running, right? Yes, that's the same thing I did it in the mobile service, because I would like to create one more instance for mobile service. And okay, so we should understand when I hit it, from which server is giving the response, right? So let's go to controller. So it's the same thing, auto wide environment, and I did call environment.getProperty, local.server.port. You will get that port number, right? So you will get that port number, and I'm setting that port number into my mobile DTO, right? I'm setting that port number into my mobile DTO. So I added one more property, private in port number, and so that I can come to know the server is running on what port. Okay, yes. So doing this one alone is not helpful for us, because in our mobile client we are doing some manipulation, right? So whatever is coming from back end mobile DTO, we are not returning directly. We are converting that into mobile client response, right? So here also we need to add in mobile client response. We need to add the same property, right? In the mobile client response, we need to add the same property, mobile client, right? So into port mobile client response, we need to add the same property. So this is how we can come to know the server is running on what port. So right, this is how we can come to know the server is running on what port. Okay, yes. So what we will do, why we did that change? Because right now we have only one service. So when I hit it, I am going to get response only from one service. I'm going to get response only from 8091. But in the real time, it won't be like this, right? When there is a huge load is coming, what we will do, we will create one more instance of same type. For example, MS1. So this is instance 1, right? So we will create one more instance of same type, So when there is a request comes, right? When there is a request comes to mobile service, it has to be properly load balanced, right? It has to be properly load balanced. Actually, Eureka server cannot take care of that part. We need one more concept introduced. Called Zool Gateway. That is from again Netflix. Zool Gateway, it's a load balancer from Netflix. Okay, why we need Zool Gateway load balancer? Because it's lightweight, pretty fast, lightweight, and open source. Okay, I will tell you what is the use of the Zool Gateway. So here is your client applications, right? Client 1, client 2, client 3. Maybe in the real time you do like this. The multiple client applications you will have, right? So let's quickly do this, right? So client, and you see client 2, this is going to be client 3, right? So client 1, client 2, and client 3. Yes. So now you create services, right? Service 1, service 2, I mean same instance. These are all only one service, right? Same service but multiple instances. Yes, we will have multiple. Too much load is coming, so we obviously create multiple instances. One instance is not capable of holding this, right? One instance is not capable of holding these many instances. So of course you create, right? You create multiple client service instances. All these are same. So this is going to be like instance 1, right? It's going to be instance 1, and this is going to be instance 2, and this is going to be instance 3. So now okay, for example, okay, let's go with the only one client, right? So let's go with the only one client. Okay, so let's go with only one client. So when there is a request comes from only one client, I want to be share like I wanted to share use these all instances to service this response, right? Let's start with only one client first. Okay, so there is a request comes to the client and we send it to the service. Okay, and second request coming, we need to send it to the second client, and third request coming, we need to send it to the third client. So why we are increasing service instances in why we are not increasing client? Can you guess?
Client will have the same URL because we cannot give different URLs, right? So client will act as the load balancer for the.
No, anyway, service
Anyway,
also.
the
Mm.
client is reactive. No?
Yes, you are reaching
Mm.
half of the way. Some more is there. Yes. Okay. So service is the thing which is talking to the DB, right? So there is some latency. Of course, we need multiple instances here. But client doesn't have any DB, so it is obviously pretty fast when we compare with service, right? So that's why we are increasing service instances, because it needs to make a DB call. It needs to make a DB call. So even though it is reactive, like it is doing so much functionality, client won't does any this much functionality like our service. So we need more instances of services to answer one client, right? Yes, so that is the reason why we are creating multiple services. Now if you have like this kind of architecture where you are having multiple instances of same type, we will create, right? So I will create one more instance of mobile service. Then we will replicate the same scenario. We will replicate the same scenario. By default, client doesn't know. When you are using Eureka, and the communication is happening through Eureka server. If you are using Eureka and the communication is going to happen through Eureka server, okay, yeah, as Anshuman said, we are doing get of zero. So all the requests are going to be first instance. As we are doing get of zero, go to client code. I think that part is part of initialization. So application configuration. As we are doing get of zero, you even though you have multiple instances are available, even though you have multiple instances created, as you are doing get of zero, all the requests are going to be only one instance. Although even though we are creating multiple instances, we are doing get of zero, all requests are going to be only one instance. Okay, let's quickly prove that, right? Let's create one more instance, duplicate the configuration of mobile service, right click, duplicate config, right? So there is one more instance will be created. So don't start directly, we need to change the port number, right? So right click, open config, right click, open config, go to arguments and change the port number. Go to arguments and change the port number. Apply, close. Apply, close. So when we start the second instance, is going to run on port number 8092. So yeah, for better understanding, till now there are 4 services installed. Focus here, guys. Here, mobile service, right? Mobile service. How many instances are there? Only one. Only one. So let me spin up one more instance on port 8092. Start that instance. You see in the console, right? Eureka server console browser. You will see that there are 2 instances are going to be added, right? Once the mobile service second instance is up and running, you see here there is one more instance is going to be added, and it shows, right? Eureka server shows that it's going to run on port number 8092. Wait for a moment. Yeah, it started. Just come back and refresh. You see there are 2 instances, right? Last line, mobile service. How many instances we have? 2. 8091, 8092. 8091, 8092. Even though there are 2 instances, yes, here we are just taking an example of 3. Okay, let's make it more relevant, right? So now 2 instances, mobile service 2 instances, instance 1 and instance 2. Even though you have 2 instances, you cannot I mean, as you are doing get of zero, right? Let's send the request. You will get only one service giving the response, right? You send a couple of requests, right? Even though we have instance 8092 second instance, right? So this is running on 8091, 8091, the second one is running on 8092. We are not doing, right? We are not using that. We are doing get of 0. How many requests I am sending, it doesn't matter. Okay. Let's move to body. Then yeah, you see how many requests I am sending, it doesn't matter. We still get output only from 8091. Only one instance is serving the response, right? Only one instance is serving the response. Okay, so even though you created another instance which is not in use, even though you created another instance which is not in use. Okay, so this is what is the challenge, right? What is the next level challenge? Creating multiple instances of same type, right? Creating multiple instances of same type. So this is what is the challenge, right? So the solution is, there are two solutions you can do. Okay, there are two solutions what you can do. So we need to implement load balancing, but the load balancing can be implemented in two places. One is at client side, doing like client side load balancing. Okay, client side load balancing, and another one is doing server side load balancing, right? Another solution is doing server side load balancing. So for this kind of architecture, server side load balancing is suitable, because we should not ask the client to, okay, saying that, hey, I'm creating multiple instances, can you please take care about load? For example, you are writing some service, right? Let's consider you are working on some RBA, right? So reverse back, right? RBA, Indian RBA, and your RBA is exposing some service, and like the remaining banks like HDFC or else ICICI, right? HDFC and ICICI. These people are going to consume the services from RBA. Okay, these people are going to consume the services from RBA. So as RBA is spinning up one more instance, if they ask, hey, can you HDFC, can you please take care of the load balance? Can you please ICICI, can you please take care of the load balance? Will that look good? No, right? So RBA itself should manage their instances. The same way, when we are spinning up more instances, here we have client and everything in our control. So then it looks okay. But it doesn't look good if you are going to expose this to the third party, right? So what should we do? We should add a load balancer here. And we should ask a client to invoke the load balancer. And this load balancer will manage. Okay, this load balancer is going to manage, okay, balancing the load across these multiple instances, instance 1 and instance 2. So client will invoke only load balancer. And this load balancer is going to manage balancing the load across those multiple instances. So not only 1-2 instances, you can create 10-20 instances. Instances, and those 10-20 instances are going to be properly managed by our load balancer. Okay, so here is the place where we will put the load balancer. But anyway, this is not the load balancer which we use in the company, right? Hardware load balancer, that is costly, and that is takes very lot of time. Actually, it won't be managed by one person. It won't be managed by in our organization. Some third party or some dedicated team will be working on it. So doing any change in load balancer is not that much easy. We need to raise some ticket. It has to be reviewed, certified. So it won't happen in 1 or 2 days, right? It will take some time. So minimum it will take minimum 2 days and maximum 10 days, like that the configuration will be there. So it's that much costly. So in microservices, doing these kind of costly operations are won't fit, right? So we need to have our own load balancer, which has to be pretty fast and which should manageable by our application, right? So application and developer. So it's like quick. We need things to be happen very quick. Like for example, let's consider an example like Netflix, right? Netflix weekends, they are going to get too much load. Okay, and if as they are going to get, like yesterday was Sunday and they are going to get too much load, and if they raise ticket on Sunday, maybe it is approved for the next Sunday, then like their most of the time is wasting on raising the ticket and following the tickets, right? So it won't be suitable, right? When microservices architecture, like doing the things like this much slow won't work out, right? It has to be pretty much fast. As soon as this new service instance is spin up, then load balancer should come to know that, right? Eureka server, anyway, it will be updated as much as quickly, right? So as soon as we spin up new instance, just refreshing the screen, you see that, right? Automatically Eureka is how quickly it is identifying the changes. Or load balancer also should identify that much quickly, right? Our load balancer also should identify that much quickly. So to overcome this problem, we don't use hardware local load balancers. We use software load balancers. So Netflix solution for this issue is Zool Gateway. Okay, Netflix solution for this issue is Zool Gateway. So this is what is the software load balancer from Netflix, and it's going to be pretty fast, awesome fast. Okay, but anyway, this is one of the way of using it. But when you go to Kubernetes, Kubernetes has its own load balancer, right? So Kubernetes load balancer is much powerful and much controllable than this Netflix Zool Gateway. Okay, so when you are learning Kubernetes DevOps, you should also consider learning the load balancing these microservices. Okay, it's the same concept. So instead of Zool Gateway, here we will install Kubernetes Gateway, right? Kubernetes load balancer. That's it. Okay, Zool Gateway from Netflix, Kubernetes from Google, right? And Kubernetes is not that much easy. It is too much complicated to do the configuration. Okay, but it is much powerful than our Netflix, because of course it uses Linux, right? It uses Linux concepts to manage the things. So of course, controllable wise, it is too much perfect, but you need experts, right? You need Kubernetes experts to do the things. And it is anyway operational system level configuration. So you should also consider like which technical stack you want to use for your microservices challenges. For example, if you have a team who has very strong knowledge in Java, then going for Kubernetes is not recommended, because you need to train all those people, and you need to make them to learn K8s load balancer, and everything. You give a training, you recruit very like talented people from Google, and you make your resources to understand K8s, and all of a sudden what you see the difference, what will happen in the real time after the training? So many people will put the paper, right?
They will jump.
right, right after lots of money invested by the company, so many people will think, okay, I learned Kubernetes, so I get better job, better pay. Of course, that is common thing. Yes, so you like companies will scare to do that thing. But anyway, Zoolgate is a fraction of seconds, right? Maximum 2 to 3 hours anyone can learn. Like anyone can learn, or if any one of the guy who did POC can giving the KT, team can understand. So it's a fast learning, quick, open source, not that much strong DevOps knowledge is needed, right? So you should consider what technical stack you want to use, right? But we are not going to cover the K8s load balancer here. We are going to learn Zool. So it is just different approach, but things will work in the same way, right? Things will work in the same way. So do you understand why we need server-side load balancer in microservices architecture, and why hardware load balancer is won't suitable for us? Okay, is it clear? Is it clear? And this is what is the example, right? Even though we spin up one more instance, it is not in cloud.
Yes, correct.
Okay, now let's create a load balancer, right? Let's create a load balancer using Zool Gateway. Then we will use that load balancer to manage the load. And our client won't directly come to services. They invoke load balancer from our client. We will invoke load balancer, and that load balancer is going to manage. Load balancer is going to manage loading the managing balancing the load, right? Yes. But anyway, this load balancer also will connect to the Eureka server, because load balancer won't get system IP addresses, URLs, right? No changes. Like tomorrow you go and spin up one more instance, go and modify the load balancer. Don't do that. Okay, so attach load balancer to the Eureka. So automatically load balancer will talk to Eureka and come to know what are all the instances are in use and where are they running, right? So you no need to do any configuration saying that, okay, this is service is running 8091, and tomorrow you spin up one more instance, you go and modify again load balancer. No such kind of architecture, no such kind of scenario. It is just automatically your load balancer is capable, it should be capable of in a position to understand any new instances spin up. The load balancer should understand that and should start sending the traffic to that particular instance, right? Maybe there might be some latency, maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, that is fine. But obviously, once that instance is killed, it should start sending, right? It's auto registration. If it is a hardware load balancer, we need to talk to that load balancer team to put your new IP, new port number. No, that won't be suitable for microservices architecture. Why? What is the difference between hardware load balancer and Zool Gateway KATS load balancer? These are software load balancers, and these can understand automatically any new server is pinned up, so it will automatically put it into the traffic. And if any server is taken out, so it will automatically remove that from the traffic, right? So that is how your load balancer should work. No manual intervention required to spin up a new instance, like remove an instance from the traffic. Okay, so that is what it's going to happen, right? Such an awesome feature, right? Yes, it's really such an awesome feature, right? So we will see that now. Okay, so
Sunil,
hmm.
Sunil, one question regarding this Eureka, Sunil. Here, actually, Eureka server, we will be deploying it in some server, okay? And after that, once we created the microservices, we may deploy it in multiple servers also. So, but in the server client, we are never mentioning the Eureka server URL or something. So, how will it know that in which server Eureka is deployed?
Now you need to add that configuration. Enable
Okay,
Eureka
just a
client.
configuration thing it is.
Yes, just the configuration. Yeah, and actually in the more, like, if I take it to the next level, like a real time, how the things will be. Okay, so yeah, so this is my AWS instance in region 1. This is my AWS instance in region 2. Okay, so this is like US and this is like UK, right? So actually we still have the load balancer, but that is like outside of the region. So this is my hardware load balancer. Okay, we have the load balancer here. Okay, so we will have only one load balancer that is outside of your region. Now your Eureka server will be installed on, so Eureka server will be installed on region level, right? It can be region level, or in single region you have multiple availability zones, right? So that can be zone level. So you have like 2 availability zones in US region. Maybe in US itself there are multiple regions are there. Just think like US East 1, right? US East 1 or US West 1, some region. So in this you have 2 availability zone 1, that availability zone 1 and availability zone 2. Right. Now your Eureka server is going to be at availability zone 1, right? So you have one Eureka server here, right? One Eureka server here, one Eureka server instance. Okay, and this one Zool Gateway, right? Load balancer, Zool Gateway. So 2 will be there here. The same technical stack will be there in all the available systems, right? So we'll have one here. And if your UK is having 2 availability zones, this might be UK. I don't know what is the naming convention of UK region number. Maybe let's give like UK R1, and it's going to be A1 availability zone 1 and availability zone 2. So obviously each availability zone you have this Eureka, and each availability and Zool Gateway also. So all of a sudden your one availability zone crashed out. So your second availability zone will start serving the response. In between this availability zone will be checking what issue is going on. We will spin up one more instance if possible. Otherwise we will check what is the issue. So it will be like this, right? So this region level, it will be like this, right? So load balancer will come and send the request to availability zone 1 and availability zone 2. So this is how the things will be. Okay, so in one availability zone, you have one Eureka server and you run multiple instances, right? You run multiple instances. So this Eureka server is responsible to manage these things, right? So the same concept, more or less, like KATS also the same thing. So olden days, this is what is the architecture, but now all the clouds are having dedicated service. For example, Amazon, it's going to be EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. It is Google GKS, Google Kubernetes Service. Azure, it's AKS, right? Azure Kubernetes Service. So these things are going to be changed in the future, right? Maybe in the next few days, all the Eurekas and Zool gateways will be taking out, and these things are going to be managed by your Kubernetes automatically. So Kubernetes is much powerful than these things, but you should have the knowledge and Kubernetes to do that setup. But anyway, these services, these clouds are having their own dedicated services, right? The dedicated service, like mostly like automate, like so you open some browser and you do some configuration there, the things will be working, right? So when you are learning like microservices architecture journey, you should also consider these parts. Okay, so anybody is planning for DevOps training, you should ask the question: are we going to cover any one of the Kubernetes service, EKS, GKS, or AKS? So these three are major in the market, right? Like this, you when you go to OpenShift, and I'm not sure what is the service name in the OpenShift. There might be some service because Amazon, Google, Azure, right? Microsoft Azure, when they are providing the service, of course, next level should be OpenShift, right? Right. At OpenShift is the next cloud provider, so they should also have some service. Right? So, but anyway, right now, this is what it's happening in the. It's going to be there. Okay, this is how it's going to be. Maybe in the future the things will change and it will be like cloud itself inbuilt. Maybe in the future, next few years, cloud itself will have a software installed Kubernetes in it. Now Kubernetes maintenance, like management, is too difficult. Okay, because installing Kubernetes and managing, creating nodes, managing, I mean, it is not that much compatible with the cloud at this point of time. But now cloud understood the value of the Kubernetes and they provided service. So there is a dedicated service, right? Like how you have EC2 instance, for example, I'm talking with respect to AWS, how you have EC2, how you have this one IAM, how you have S3 bucket, right? EC2 is a compute, IAM is a role management, S3 is a storage. Like how you have ECS, Elastic Container Service. So this is what is for Docker. Right now the world is using ECS to manage Docker instances, but in the future EKS will come into the picture. So this is what is Elastic Kubernetes Service, will manage Kubernetes components. I mean, managing Kubernetes components in any cloud becomes pretty easy once these services are full-fledged available. Okay, so already these are available, but the world, this is something new. Right now we are using some script, Ansible script, to manage the instances. But anyway, this is going to be purely dedicated to DevOps things, right? DevOps things. But you should understand the problem. The problem is still same, whether it is Amazon EKS, whether it is Zool Gateway, which is running on my local machine, which is going to run on the problematic statement is not going to change, right? Server side load balancing is one of the problematic thing in the microservices architecture. Using hardware load balancers, load balancing, we cannot do things that much easily. So that's why we go for software load balancing. So Zool Gateway is one of the solution. Maybe the world is using today Zool Gateway. Maybe in the next few years, the things will be changing and people will be using KATS, right? Kubernetes load balancer. And now the things are too much complicated to play with the Kubernetes, but now dedicated services are available, each cloud level, right? Each cloud level, that is going to be like next in the few years. So people, you might have hear this word a lot: EKS, GKS, AKS, right? EKS, GKS,
Yes.
AKS. So you might hear this word a lot, right? So this is what is going to be boom in the next few years, right? But anyway, architecture level, knowing one concept is not enough, right? Lead level, architecture level, from system driven design level, not knowing only Java is not sufficient, right? I showed the technical stack. This comes under which layer? IaaS, right? Infrastructure as a service. It's going to come under infrastructure as service plus container as service, CAUS, right? So right now what we learned is a PaaS, right? Platform as service. Yes. So Java comes into here, and Kubernetes, Docker, cloud, everything comes into infrastructure as service, container as service, right? So you should know all these layers, at least. In, not having hands on, it's fine, but you should know functional wise, right? So how the things will work and Okay, you should know what file has to be configured, but you no need to remember what exactly the configuration you do. On the fly, you go to some documentation and do it. That's fine, but you should know how the things should be working on it, right? But that comes into a different layer. But it's too much advanced, and if you want to become an architect or a lead or these days, even managers also should know all this, right? Things got changed. Yes. One thing out of this training, the people who started their career as a software engineer in 1990s or at least in 2000s, so lucky, right? Things were not, I mean, things are not complicated like this much. You know, in the olden days, one Java version released in 2000. Yeah, next to 2 to 3 years, pulls up, right? 2005, 2006, then only the new version will be released. But now things got changed. For every 6 months, new version. We need to upgrade, 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 upgrade. Right? We need to upgrade, 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 upgrade. You know, 2 years, 3 years back, we don't have this feature. EKS, GKS, AKS. All of a sudden, this coming to the picture, and this is going to boom in the next few years.
Yeah.
Even we don't guarantee that if you learn these things will be done.
Yeah.
No, there is something will come better than this. Again you have to learn that. Again you have to learn that, and again you have to upskill yourself, right? Yes. Now IT job is going to be more challenging part, you know. It's going to be. Now at least we are good now. Our generation is much better. We can survive next few years, like 10 to 15 years, no doubt. But the next generation who are going to choose their job as IT, it's not that much easy. Like our IT Indian engineers are going to compete this world, because our people will learn and they will start challenging anybody, right? Yes, already that is there. Yes, it will still continue because of this too much uh, uh, drastic, right? It's not stabilizing, right? So the world, IT world is like drastically changing, right? Yes, whatever we have in the next 2 years back, now it is not there. And at least that is like changed 2 years. Now, like after 1 year, yeah, we may not expect these Ansible scripts under automatically cloud itself will have so much automation. So yeah, you should continue that. But anyway, come back and see this Joule gateway setup and see how the things are going to be behaved, right? Yes. Now, anyway, what I will do, I'll stop these core services. Okay, I will stop all the core services. Let the Eureka server be up and running. Service discovery, let it be up and running. You don't touch that. That is pure lightweight. Yes, let's quickly create one Joule gateway. Okay, let's quickly create one Joule gateway. Spring Starter project. Again, it's a simple Spring Boot application. So let's give a name, mobile service gateway, or a load balancer. Anything, it's fine. Mobile service gateway or load balancer. So let's give the same description. And here it's going to be msk mobile dot gateway. Okay, mobile dot gateway. Very limited code we will write. We don't write too much code. A simple annotation at enable Joule server, Joule proxy. Okay, so we don't need anything. We just need a simple Eureka client we need, right? So it has to register with Eureka. So we need Eureka client, this discovery client. We also need Joule, right? Yeah, we need Joule, right? Just select that, click next, click finish, wait for a moment. The project will be created by Eclipse, and it's going to be available in next few minutes, right? Yeah, just few minutes. Yes. Okay. So it's a one Java file. That's right. It's just one Java file. You should enable the Joule gateway, right? You should enable the Joule gateway. Click enable. Okay. Click enable Joule proxy. Click enable Joule proxy, and service discovery alone it's running. As it has the client, it will automatically connect it to that service discovery. No doubt on that, right? We added the dependency on the class path. So, right, enable, so Eureka client is on the class path. So, and our Eureka server is running on port 8761. So it automatically performs the registration. Now we need to do some configuration when there is a request comes from for mobile service. It should go to mobile service, right? And when the request for country, it should go to country service. When the request for accessory, it should go to accessory. But anyway, first of all, let's change this port, right? So let's not run on port 8080. Let's go and configure a different port. Server.port equals 8762. Let's use 8762. Now we need to do a small configuration. Right? To redirect the request, right? To redirect the, so that is going to be Zool. So it's going to be Zool dot roots. Okay, Zool dot roots dot routes dot. Here we need to give some name to your service. Let's say it's a mobile service dot path, right? Dot path. So when there is a request coming like slash mobile iPhone service, okay, slash star star, anything which is coming like mobile service slash star, it goes to mobile service, right? So that configuration we need to do. So to routes dot mobile service dot id, where it goes, it should go to mobile service. So this is the name which is configured, right? So mobile icon service. This is what is the name which is configured in Eureka server, right? So let's repeat the same configuration for country and mobile accessories. Okay, anything coming with like country slash service, it should go to country, and it should point it to country service in Eureka. Yes. Let's do the same for accessory. Anything coming as like mobile accessory should go to mobile accessory service, right?
The country should be capital. ID.
I think it can be ignorable. Just for our understanding purpose, it is coming. Let's try that. Okay, first try the success scenario. Later you can check it out. I don't think so. It is mandatory, but just try to check that out. Okay. Yes. So actually, usually this is enough. But the problem is we have security, right? Security for mobile service, right? Some basic authentication we have. So we should enable, right? We should enable cookies, right? We should enable cookies. So let's enable cookies for mobile service because of security. Actually, usually we will set the security at load balancer level, not at service level. But as we are doing learning and implementing multiple, right? So that's why we did it here. So here you should type some string. I don't remember that. Let's go to Google and check Zool gateway sensitive headers. It will show the allowed values, right? So it's cookie, some set header, something is there. Yeah, you just type in the Google, you will get that suitable value, right? So you just click on it. Scroll down. Let's type sensitive headers. I should set cookie should be added because of security. Okay, just because of security. Yes. Otherwise, your authentication won't be working out, right? So without authentication, you don't need to do something like this. Right? Without authentication, you don't need to do. So we are done with load balancing configuration, right? We are done with load balancing configuration. So now let's go to client and remove that discovery, right? Discovery code, because we are not going to use Eureka. We are going to hit this thing, right? So what should we do? We should go to, first of all, properties file. Let's configure, right? Let's configure load balancer, right? So let's configure load balancer URLs here. So the load balancer URL is going to be something like this, right? For example, if you would like to hit mobile service, then you send a request to load balancer, right? So localhost 8762, what is the URL? Localhost 8762 / mobile service. Okay, this is what is the configuration we did it in the load balancer, right? So mobile service slash slash what should we use? MSK context path slash mobiles slash what, right? So this is what it redirects, right? So this is what is the URL chain. So let's quickly check this out, right? So let's send a couple of requests and see whether the both, right? So whether the both services, are giving response or not, right? So let's first test our mobile service, right? First let's test the mobile service whether the load is balancing across two instances or not. Let's quickly start the mobile service two instances and check. Spinning up instances is it's taking too much time in my local. I think around 20 to 30 seconds, huh? And 1 minute. Come on, come on, come on. Yes. Now let's go to browser, okay, and copy this URL. Go to browser. You just enter that URL. You see that there is one window popped up, right? How when you try to hit our mobile service, it's a basic authentication. So we will get a pop-up to enter the username and password, right? 8762 mobile service slash. Oh, we didn't spin up our gateway. Let's start the load balancer as well. Let's start the load balancer as well. In between, do you remember what is the user? Okay, we have in the client, right? The client, what is the username we need to enter for mobile service? Go to configuration, client configuration. There is some authentication available, right? The mobile user, mobile. Yeah. Yeah, it's started now. Let's go and send the request to gateway 8762. Let's do gateway. Yeah, you as soon as you enter, right? It is asking to enter the username and password. As you said, you just enter that. It takes you to timeout. Okay, timeout is fine. Let's try for a couple of times. Okay, from which server we get the response? 8092. Send it. You see there is a difference, right? 8091. You send it. 8092. You send it for one more time. 8091. Right? 8092. 8091. Right? Load is balancing. Right? Load is balancing automatically by the load balancer. So now let's go to client and do the changes in the client to use the gateway URLs instead of using Discover, right? So this is for mobile. Okay, let's do the change for country. Okay, this is for country, and let's add one for one more time for accessory, right? So let's do one more change for accessory. No context path here, right? It is just going to be accessory slash accessory, or else you just configure only this thing so that context path and all can be configured in the application, right? So only load balancer URLs you can configure here. So let's go to client configuration file. So we will go back to again URLs, right? No more service discovery. Again we will go back to our URLs, but this URL is going to be pointed to load balancer. This URL is going to be pointed to load balancer. So the keys, we are going to use the same keys, mobile service base URL, but it's going to be pointed to. Okay, so my local machine is a little slow, so we will get timeout errors. But actually, if the machine is good, right? So we don't get the timeouts. Anyway, we can change the timeout. Okay, we can increase the timeout. Okay, yes, you add this. Save all. Let's do add this. Save all. So let's quickly start the remaining core services, right? Country service, mobile accessory service. So let's start them. So your load balancer will automatically recognize those changes. Your load balancer will automatically recognize those changes. Yeah, if you really go for microservices, they will directly teach you this. No, no Spring Boot, no Java, no nothing. They will directly show this, right? Yeah. So let's start the client. Let's start the client. Yes, now you can start the client. There is no problem. Anyway, you can start client parallelly. Earlier we have dependency with the service discovery, right? So you remove that discovery completely. You remove this discovery completely. We no need, right? So now it becomes HTTP call. Now we can start our services parallelly, right? So we can start our services. Oh my goodness. Okay, we are not using that URLs, right? We are still using service discovery URL, right? So let's change that part. So it's going to be this slash msk slash that. So this slash msk slash. Okay, it's first one is mobile, second one is country, and third one is access base URL. It's mobile accessory base URL. Just remove this part so you don't get any compilation error. Okay. Yes. So here also let's minimize this. Just remove this part, save it. Okay, you can stop this. You can stop this client and start freshly because we did so many changes, right? And start freshly. Now you can start services parallelly. Only the dependency is discovery should be started first, right? So discovery we have dependency, right? In discovery we have dependency. So what is the exception? It's fine. This the load reload server, right? So let's disable that one also. How to disable load, sorry, live reload server, right? Live reload in Spring Boot. It is just some, we need to make something false. Um, live reload server. Let's do live reload server. So we should get here Spring Stack Overflow. We know we cannot remember these many things, right? Just go to Google, search, put it. That's it. Yeah, just do this, save it. This time you don't see any exception in the console for sure. Let's go to client. Yeah, client is going to restart. Now you don't see any exceptions for sure. Okay, no exceptions this time. Now let's go to Postman. And so what exactly is going to happen now? What is the architecture of our service? So these two are microservices, right? So these two are same mobile services. These two are same mobile services things, right? So these two are mobile services. So apart from this, we have we are going to have country service. We are going to have mobile accessory service, and your load balancer is taking care about balancing the load across multiple instances of same time, right? Yeah, we created two instances for mobile service. We created one instance for country service. So you no need to worry, right? So you don't need to worry how those balancing is going to be managed. So it's going to be automatically managed by your Zoom gate, right? So this is how the load balancing is going to be. So now let's go to Postman and send the request. I think the token will be alive for next 30 minutes, right? So I believe that is what is the time we gave. Yeah, 30 minutes it will be available. I don't think so 30 minutes happen. But anyway, let's try that out. If token is invalid, let's create one more token, fresh token and use it. Right, so send the request. If token is invalid, we'll get the exception. Yes, you see 908091 is giving the response. Yeah, token expired. Let's go and create a fresh token. Copy, come back, go to headers, change the token, send it. maybe some gateway timeout happens. That's fine. Just try for a couple of times. We need to increase the time. Click, click, click. Don't worry. Yeah, you see that 8091 is giving the response, right? 92. Maybe gateway timeout. Gateway timeout. It's fine. We will change it. Okay. So 8092. 8091. So now the load is balancing across, right? Now the load is balancing across these two instances, 8091 and 8092. And we will do one magic, we will spin up one more instance, right? We will spin up one more instance. You see, automatically that will be put it in the load automatically. So just duplicate configuration. Okay, so I should right click here. I duplicate config. Yes, the two, for instance, two, we need to change the port number 8093, right? 8093. That should run on a different port for sure. Apply, close, and quickly spin up that instance. Now we created one more instance of same type. Right? You will no need to do anything. It will be automatically taken care by your Eureka and Joule Gateway, load balancer, and service discovery. Yes, one more service is spinned up. It's happening. It will take some time, 1 to 2 minutes. So you know this movie concept, right? Yeah. So right, you might have seen like some, yeah, obviously we are Telugu people, we see so many songs in the movies, and when you songs and so many things, right? Like you might have noticed like some character artist. Normal question, guys. You try to answer that. I'm sure. Vijay, you might have seen, right? Side dancer,
Yes.
character artist.
Yeah.
That's how it was started our journey, right? We were like initially like that, but now we are like like director, movie director position, right? We are spinning up so many instances, very high level, like kind of director we are doing. What happened? Zool exception. What is this? That's fine. The timeout exception. Right. That yeah. Now what we are doing? We are playing with instances, spinning up instances, right? Creating load balancers. Like now we promoted. We are like at director, right? Character. Like at least what is that side director? Junior director? No, assistant director. Yeah. Like now we are.
Assistant director.
Yeah. Now we are in position of like assistant director. We are not writing too much code. We are playing with concepts now, right? Less code, less configuration, and we are managing the things expected way. So let's send the new request. You see all of a sudden that 8093 will start starting the response. That's fine. Timeout happens. Let's send a couple of requests.
Timeout we can increase, no?
Actually, I don't remember that exact parameter, right? So 8093. Yesterday I tried, it was not working. I need some more time to see how can we increase the timeout. That I will show tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. But you see 8093 automatically in Traffic, right? We didn't do anything. We just simply spinned up new instance using our boot dashboard, right? We just simply spinned up one more instance and you got the response automatically, right? So without doing any code changes, you can do auto scaling, auto descaling, right? So based on your load, on demand, you spin up a new instance, and based on the load, you can remove that instance, right? So let me remove some instance 8092, right? There is no change required. Automatically, your service discovery and your load balancer can manage it, right? If let's assume if it is a hardware load balancer, how many days will it be taking to do the changes? You have to raise a ticket, right? You have to raise a ticket and managing things. But just because of this Eureka and Joule Gateway, just refresh it. You see automatically that 809, right? 8092 will be taking out, right? 8092. I think we need to give some name to our gateway. Spring.application.name. application.name. So that mistake we did, right? So Spring.application application name, it's listed down as an unknown. Okay, we need to take care of that part. So you see automatically 8092 removed from the Traffic, right? So when you add, it will be automatically added. So the kind of mistake we did for gateway is we have not provided a name to our application. So in Eureka, every time you should give some name, right? In Eureka, you should always give a name. So let's say gateway or load balancer. Anything is fine. Okay, save it, and we need to restart our gateway. Let's stop it. It will be stopped. Yeah. Now start it. Go to Eureka. You see that name will be listed as gateway. Good. Just refresh. Right, it's a gateway which is running on 876. Let's send the request. You don't get response from 8092. You don't even know what is in load, what is removed, right? What is in load and what is removed, you don't know. So you will get responses only from 8091 and 8093. So 8092 will not be in Profit anymore, right? So no need to touch anything. It's like automatically scaling up and automatically scaling down. Right? So that is what is a pure meaning of auto scaling. If you do some manual intervention, then it is not called auto scaling, right? So it should be automatically put it in Trophic, right? Automatically removed from Trophic if you stop the instance. Okay, so that's how the things will be managed with respect to auto scaling. And two challenges we discussed, right? One is discovery, and another one is load balance. Server side load balance. Okay, yes, yeah, we can increase the timeout for sure, but I need to check that part. Some like some configuration I tried, it was not working. I need to go through the documentation. So Zool also have some filters concept, so you can provide security here also, right? So Zool has the filter concept, so the security can be the JWT security can be applied here. So when client wants to invoke our services, so like we can remove the service level security and we can put the security here, we can put the security here, and we can also log the time. So whatever you did with the filter, right? Filter. So Zool by using Zool filter also you can do it, right? So these two things we will see. So we have Zool filter concept. Okay, we have here is the Zool filter. So you have Zool filter concept, and by using that you can play like your how we have playing with servlet filter. The same way you can play with the filter, and then you can also log the time. You can put some security, right? You can also increase the timeouts, right? So those things I will show tomorrow. Okay, yeah. Okay, guys, we will discuss tomorrow. One very important thing, guys.